What is Terraform and why we use Terraform and why it is so popular in the software industry? To answer this question, we have to go to the web page of Terraform and read the definition. Terraform is an infrastructure as a code tool that lets us build, change, and versioning infrastructure safely and efficiently. Another advantage of Terraform is the community. We can access to the community that develop modules that we can use to create a complex infrastructure. Another advantage of Terraform is that we can use the Terraform in our on-premise data center, or if we prefer, we can use Terraform in different providers, for example Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, or Azure. That is the most relevant advantage of Terraform. Continuing with our plan, what is and why we use Terraform, I'm going to create the Terraform code, but first we need a plan. We need a plan how we need or how we can store the code and how we organize the code. There are three most popular way to organize the Terraform code. The first one is that we have the infrastructure or the main folder, and inside that folder we have all the code of Terraform. We have the main, we have the provider, variables, we have the creation of the instance, and so on. This is a more not efficient way for medium or larger project, because we finish it with a large amount of code that we can control, and it is not easy to develop in a team. The second one is for middle or big companies. The idea behind this structure is to have the infrastructure folder, and in this folder have the company, and inside the company we have the network for all company, and inside the company folder we have the project that we are going to create, for example EC2 instances, and use the network previously created. The third way to organize the folder is for big companies. This suggests us to create a network for each project. For example, in this example, I have the infrastructure folder. Inside that infrastructure, we have the company folder, and inside this folder, we have the project 1 folder. And inside this project named 1 folder, we have the network, we have the provider for this network, we have the EC2 instance code, and for each project we need to have the different network for each project. And for this example, for this video, I'm going to use the second one. I'm going to create the infrastructure company network for all company, and inside the project name I'm going to create the EC2 instance and all the infrastructure that we need for that project. Let's start. To create the Terraform code, I'm going to use my personal dev container. You can find my personal dev container in the Docker Hub registry. You can find for my user manual areas and the project dev container. In this project you can find the documentation regarding to the different release. For example, currently I have the release V1 v1 and v2, and the documentation regarding to what have the different releases you can find here in the releases pages of the repository. The major change from release 1 and release 2 is the NeoVim version. For example, here I'm going using I am using the version 0.10, and in the version 2 I am using the version 0.11. Of course, previously I upgrade the different plugins required to work with this NeoVim version. Okay, and you can find more details about how this dev container was created here in this link, the repository link, and in this repository you can find the readme file, and here you can find the different information regarding to the dev container. For example, the tools used or previously installed in the dev container. In my case, I use a personal bash rc file with custom configurations. I use NER fonts, icons on my push. I heavily use Tmux, and for that reason I installed Tmux in the dev container. In the dev container is installed the Node version manager to manage the different version nodes of Node, and this is for project using Node and TypeScript. For Java project, I installed previously SDK main. This software allows us to install different versions of Java. This allows us to work with different projects or Java versions in different projects. And finally, I installed the NeoVim. This NeoVim is like I use like an IDE to develop the different application, and no matter if the application is working with Node, working with Java, PHP, or whatever language. And here is a complete documentation how you can run the dev container, and how you can use dev container in this page, Play with Docker. It's a good page to test and run the Docker containers. More in depth here is specified how or what plugins are installed in NeoVim using Mason, like a package manager. And if we going down, we can find the different package installed in the Debian image used for the dev container. And at the end of this readme, you can find the different folder you can find in the dev container. The most relevant is this one, the optional software or OPT, and inside this OPT I have the manual folder, and in this manual folder I installed the software that I use in the daily job. This way to work is more comfortable and flexible. If you need to test different versions of the different software, you can switch in from this different version of the software using slink, and you can change the slink and use different versions in your dev container. Okay, with that, let's to open a new terminal and run the dev container. Here I am in my local laptop. I can check it running uname, and I'm going to check the version of Docker -v. This is the Docker version that I'm going to that I am running currently, and checking if there is a container running locally. For that, I'm going to run docker ps. You can see no dev container running currently, but first I'm going to open a new Tmux session, and you can check in the right top corner the name of the machine, and I'm going to move to my local repository, cd change directory, media manual, dates, and okay, here I have the list of the repositories that I have in my local machine. I'm going to clear the console and show the current directory. Let's run our first dev container and run the command docker run minus iterative minus d minus volume, and I'm going to copy the current directory of my repositories and link to the dev container repositories. And in the dev container I have the home directory, the user manual, and the folder for the repositories. Okay, next I'm going to give a name of this dev container, Terraform code, for example. I'll run the dev container from the user manual areas, the dash dev container v2, and done. Okay, let's check it out if the docker container is running. To do that is the same command previously showed, docker ps, and you can see that currently is one docker container running. Let's exit from the Tmux session, exit, and the reason why I am closing the Tmux session is because it is not possible to run a session inside another Tmux session. Let's to connect to the docker dev container, and inside this dev container connect to the or run a new Tmux session. Let's to connect using docker exec minus it minus user manual, and the container called Terraform code using bash. Perfect. And here I'm going to use a new open a new Tmux session. You can see in the top right corner the name of the dev container, or the code of the name container is the same if I run uname minus a, the same ID for the dev container. Here I'm going to update my local or my personal configuration for bash. Let's change to the home director.files and performs a git pull to get all the recently changes. I need to update the dev container, but I'm going to do in the next days. Here I updated my local configuration. I'm going to move to the repositories, and I'm going to check if we have all the repositories. How you can see, this is the same repositories that I have in my local machine. Let's move it to YouTube. In YouTube I have the hotel app and the infrastructure. Okay, move to the infrastructure folder. Here I'm going to create a new folder. In this folder I'm going to put all the code used to create the infrastructure. First I'm going to create a directory named with the name of the company, in this case manual, and the network folder. In this folder I'm going to put all the network required for the company, and I'm going to create the folder for the project. The project is hotel, and in this project I'm going to create a folder to put the code necessary to create the EC2 instances. Now you can see we created the folder structure. Now I'm going to create or open the NeoVim. Let's open the NeoVim, and here I have the structure created, and in this folder I'm going to create the necessary code to create our network infrastructure. First I'm going to create the provider.tf file. In this file I'm going to create the necessary code to define the provider to use. Another file I'm going to create the backend file tf to define that this is a Terraform application, and the variables.tf to define the variables that we will need in the project. Here in backend I'm going to define the Terraform platform, and the required provider, and here I'm going to define the AWS provider. Here the first thing that I notice is I don't have available the formatter or the linter or the auto completion for the Terraform platform. For example, here I have a mistake. I spell incorrect Terraform because I forget the M, but for that reason we need a linter in this project. First I'm going to show you how to integrate the linter, formatter and auto completion for Terraform projects. Let's close